Awesome. We fixed our auth0 bug. So now, of course, we can proceed to Stripe checkout. Now, one thing that I would want to do before that, though, is the warnings. So I would want to start with a clean slate. So one by one, we're going to go over these warnings and just get rid of them. Otherwise, it's just getting a little bit annoying. And I'm going to start with featured product. So notice that is my first warning where it says that we're not using the link. So why the complaint is there? Well, because when I set up the project, there was a link. And then as I was recording, of course, I forgot about it. So I'm going to go to components. I believe I'm looking for featured products. Notice I have the link. And of course, I would want to display it. So where it goes, I believe it goes in this section over here. But let me just double check quickly. So I'm looking for my components, featured products, and I would want to display a link that navigates to a products page, correct? So right after this div, I'm going to go with link to, and then we're going to product. And inside of the link, I'm going to write all products over here. And I'm also going to add a class name. So I'm going to say class and btn. So let me save it. We should see the link and the actual error should be gone as well. So let me go to home. There it is. Now I have my all products. And of course, I'm going to have to refresh because I'm using the latest React version. And for some reason, there's a glitch. And now if I check my warnings, notice that one is gone. Now, the other warning is product images, where it says that there's a redundant alternative attribute. So let me check. I have product images over here. And as far as the alternative, I'm saying that that is the main image. So let's say that this is going to be a main picture. Let's try this way, whether that helps. So let's save, and I think, yeah, it still complains about it. So let's just keep this as a main. So let's save that. And now, of course, we don't have that warning anymore. Then in a private route, notice how there's a complaint that we're not using the user context anymore. And of course, the reason for that is because now we're using user from the auth0 because it just arrives a bit faster. So it's up to you. You can remove it or you can just comment this out. So in my case, I'm just going to comment this out. And then I have complaint in a single product page about the hooks. And if you remember the very first part of the course, the React tutorial, I talked about it where there's times when React essentially complains that there's a missing dependency. However, if you add this dependency, then of course you get this infinite loop. So there's a few ways around it. Either you can just ignore this message, or you can set up, for example, use callback, and that would fix that warning. And then, of course, you can add that dependency. Now, since I would want to move on to a Stripe, I think it's a bit more important. I'm just going to use the first option, where essentially I'm just going to add this comment, ESLint disable next line, and that way I'm going to get rid of the dependencies. Because I know for sure that if I'm going to add this fetch single product to dependencies, I'm going to get infinite loop because that function gets created every time. And I'm not sure about history, but again, I would just want to move on to a Stripe part of the project. So let me grab this one, the ESLint disable next line, and then I would want to navigate to a single product page. And I'm going to close the sidebar. And we're going to keep on scrolling, and we're just going to add over here. So add this ESLint disable next line. Now we should have only one, the history one over here. And I'm going to do the same thing for the second use effect. And now essentially we should have only one, the cart reducer warning. So let me navigate to cart reducer. And that one is, of course, in the reducers. We're looking for cart reducer. And basically what the linter is complaining about, that we have this if and else. Now, first of all, let me check the correct line. So in here, it says 49 and 72 in the cart reducer. Let's start with 72 because I think it's going to be faster. So we go with action type. And here, notice I have two equal signs and should be three. So we do that. And then line 49. Let's scroll up over here. Notice how we're iterating over the cart. And if the ID matches, then we return item with that new amount. If, of course, the value is decreased, then of course we subtract one and then there's new amount. But then we have here this else. And essentially linter is complaining, okay, well, what if the condition doesn't match neither the ID nor this one? Now, of course, it's kind of impossible, right? But in order to fix this warning, we simply need to say return item. And let me just double check the name. Yeah, the name is item. So I fixed that and I should have no warnings. Again, we didn't change the logic. We're still checking for the ID. And if the ID matches, then we increase or decrease. However, if the item doesn't match, then we simply return the item as it is. And once we have our console nice and clean with no warnings, now, of course, we can finally proceed and set up our Stripe payment getaway.